Hello, my fellow fan fiction readers. Is I, Dark Symphony 777, with a new part of my review of Yu-Gi-Oh! Archetypal Link Monsters. First off, I'd like you to look at this room. I'm feeling nostalgic today. My friend of 10 plus years has finally moved out of the house. I'll probably, I'm not going to make a video about that, but I'm just going to touch upon it. He finally got help to move out because of all the bullshit my mom has done over the years. And he's like, I don't want to deal with it anymore. I finally got the help to get me out of here and move into like a little apartment for about a year or two before I can, I can build myself up and move somewhere more permanent. And I'm like, yeah, good for you. And he's actually going to help me with the same thing. So, what is the Archetypal Link Monster review? What I did a little while ago, I did a multiple part series review where I looked at every single added Yu-Gi-Oh! Link Monster archetype. I'm wording that wrong. Every Link Monster that was added post-modern of an old archetype, like any support, like any extra legacy support, stuff like that, like not worms, like Steel Swarm Origin, stuff like that. And I reviewed them. I talked about whether they be good or not. And since then, a lot more grouping of these Link Monsters have shown up. So I'm actually going to, this is actually going to, this is going to be talking about all these Link Monsters. Hopefully I can get all of them done in one go. So let's get started. First off, the rules. We're only going to be talking about monsters that were Link Monsters that were added to an archetype after their main support was released earlier. So stuff like Nightmares, which is a pretty much Link only archetype, that's not going to be included. Goki's not going to be included. Anything like that is not going to be included. And I'll be ranking each Link Monster on a scale of 1 to 10 based on how useful it's in its own archetype. The only one I'm going to so let's get started. First off, I got an update on the Isolde Tales of Two Noble Knights. New Noble Knight support has shown up, and they're actually pretty good. There's Chalice, which is a searcher, and I think it's fine. They needed a searcher, but the problem is they still have no consistent way of constantly getting their equipped spells out of the graveyard, except through battle. And we need the hat and of course Brothers. I mean, Brothers is really the only card that can really benefit, that you need to be able to get the equipped spells out of the graveyard. And Noble Knight Brothers is still a good card, but we need something. We need some way to constantly get the equipped spells back into the deck or back into the hand somehow, except through battle, because that's annoying. And of course, more people, they're just gonna destroy the monster or the equipped spell with card effects. So if the equipped spell said, oh, if they're sent to the graveyard, you can pay 500 life points, like with Malevolent Nuzzler, put it back in the deck. You can use that. So that way, Isolde would actually be useful in the Noble Knights. But she's not, because you only have so much room for equipped spells. So let's get started. Let's get started with one I actually missed. From the first couple of videos. It's Gaia Saber, the Lightning Shout. He's actually part of the Gaia the Fierce Knight archetype, which is a really, really weird archetype. I mean, because half of it's like does its own thing, each card does its own thing, but some of them actually support another archetype completely unrelated to Gaia. He's a Link 3 machine with 2600 attack. His arrows are east, west, and south, and he has 2600 attacks. He has no effects. I'm only giving him a 4, mainly because of those link points. He does nothing. Yeah, his links are generic, which you can kind of splash him in any deck. He's very, he's good for a quick beat stick if you need something beat over really fast, or you need like a very easy to make link, like emergency link point. you can kind of go. You can't go wrong with Gaia as like just an emergency backup. Because a lot of Link monsters, truth be told, they're not really that powerful. Unless they have like really broken effects. The Nightmare archetype, they were really broken, but now the Goblins banned. You know, they're not as powerful as they once were. They're still pretty powerful, but they're not as powerful. Because now they can be destroyed by card effects. Of course, you can still kaiju them to at least kaiju or when the board was like really tough, you could have just used Ring Dragon or Raw Spear mode, or you could have just kaiju'd either Goblin or Trigate Wizard, because usually they'll just combine. At the bottom, they'll have Goblin, Firewall Dragon, and Trigate. I really need to hit Trigate, because Trigate's broken as well. But everyone only uses like one copy of Trigate, so it's like not really. Is it even worth hitting it? I don't know. But I can't rank it any higher than that, because one, there's no real Gaia deck. There's a bunch of Gaia monsters. Then there's a bunch of Cursed Dragon cards, and then there's a fusion, and then there's XCs, and then there's the stuff that supports BLS, and then that's just bullshit. So that's it with that one. And now, same as last time, we're going to be going through alphabetical order, stuff like that. Okay, so now we have the first new Link monster of the video, Vendread Savior. He's part of the Vendread archetype. The Vendreads are monsters based off the comic book Spawn. If you never heard of Spawn, go look it up. Go just click on a new tab, click on Google, just look up Spawn. And you see, Spawn is a pretty cool guy. He is a Dark Zombie, Link 2 monster, 1600 attack, Link arrows, southwest, southeast. And he requires 2 zombie monsters. Thank God. Because they're all zombies. Vendread is a rich. Here's what I don't get. Before I start on the effect, I don't get it, because Vendreads are a ritual-based archetype. Because of Master Rule 4, the only summoning mechanic that didn't get affected was tributing summoning, which actually kind of helps Monarchs, because Monarchs, their whole gimmick is, we don't use an extra deck. Aha! You use an extra deck? We're Monarchs! We don't need our extra deck. We'll stop you from using yours. No! My Link monsters! No! And stuff like that. And ritual monsters, which are in the main deck, so, rich. So I don't really see why Vendreads would need a Link monster, because there's a couple other zombie Link monster with zombies, plus Vampire Sucker actually helps Vendreads out a lot. But let's get started on the effect. This card name becomes Ravendread Slayer while on the field. That's the first virtual monster introduced into the archetype. You can only use each effect of the following effects of the Vendread Savior once per turn. You can target one Vendread card in your graveyard, add it to your hand. That's actually pretty good, because now you can use this guy as, your recovery. It's once per turn, but Vendreads look, when I first saw Vendreads, they look like a card that are more of a stall-based, slow, and then immediately rush down deck. They're more, like you build up your defenses, build up the plays, and then you go quick for like a OTK, stuff like that. So, I could see this working as like, to help to get the virtual monsters and on the and the stuff like that. If this card battles an opponent's monster during damage calculation, you can send one zombie monster from your deck to the graveyard. That opponent's monster loses attack equal to the level of the monster sent to the graveyard times 2,000 until the end of the turn. That is actually pretty helpful. Sure, you'll have to send out a zombie monster from the graveyard, and depending on the monster, you will have to probably send a very high level. But consider the fact a lot of the Vendreads plus their ritual actually works from the graveyard. You can actually summon Vendread ritual monsters using Vendread ritual spells if they're in the graveyard. So this actually helps. You can set up the graveyard. You can send like a either Slayer or Executioner to the graveyard. Then if you have the ritual spell, you can summon. You can play. You can get the Vendread from your graveyard onto the field. You're set up. So that actually helps. Sure, it's situational. Because, depends on the monster. You maybe you throw in like a Mizuki whose effect is you banish it, and then you can and then you special summon a zombie from your graveyard. There's so many stuff you can do. It's not the best card, mainly because I don't think it actually fits the archetype, because I honestly don't think Vendreads didn't need a Link monster. They really didn't need a Link monster. You could easily just have thrown this effect on another ritual monster. You could have easily just done that. It's not necessary, but it actually does help. It actually helps because you can easily fill up your graveyard. Granted, it's based on the wording. If it has no protection, so once they see it, they're probably gonna go after. They're probably gonna not even bother to attack it, or because of course everything runs around destroying with card effects nowadays. But I still think it's a good card. Do I think it's the best Link monster? No, I still think that card kind of belongs to Electromite, Sistheart, Double Helix, and like those kind of cards. But it does help. It does help the Vendread archetype. So I actually give this a 9 out of 10. It's still a good card. It's a really good card. Let's see. Alien Shock Trooper Mighty Slash Frame. First off, let me talk about that name. That name is stupid. Alien Shock Trooper Mighty Slash Frame. You need to change that name, Konami. Change that name. Make it Alien Elite Shock Trooper, because we all know, despite the fact my app it actually doesn't have artwork of it. It's a retread of the Alien Normal Monster being Alien Shock Trooper, so it wouldn't be I wouldn't be surprised if they rename it Alien Elite Shock Trooper, so because it makes sense. It's part of the Alien archetype. It's a light reptile Link 2 monster with 1900 attack, same as Alien Shock Trooper. Arrow compass points, link points southwest southeast. And it requires 2 reptile monsters, the aliens being reptiles. So, makes sense. First effect is a quick effect. Quickie! You can discard 1 monster, place A counters. The alien gimmick is basically spreading A counters, and your opponent's monsters suffer bad effects. Usually most of the time they have their battle attack points reduced when they battle an alien monster, but the alien has to have that specific effect part of it, which makes no sense. They should have just put it on all the aliens. They really should have. And maybe Alien Mars and Alien Hypno, but you gotta go through hoops to do Hypno. But Hypno's broken if you manage to make it work. You can discard 1 monster, place A counters on face-up monsters on the field equal to the original level of the discarded monster, which means most of the alien monsters are either like level 1 to level 4, maybe, and like a couple, and like 2 level 6s. And I think 1 level 7. I can't remember. And then of course there's Golgar, but he's a synchro monster. He's like their best monster. I think this card is actually kind of useful if you have this card and Alien Mars on the field. Your opponent starts doing like wombo combos. You discard a monster. You actually like you put on the A counters. Their effects are negated while Alien Mars is on the field. You pretty much stop your opponent's attack with their tracks. Or if you have Golgar, because I think Golgar actually works during both players' turns. If your opponent trying to do combo, Golgar's on the field, this guy's on the field, you discard a monster, you place the 8 counters, and then you start blowing shit up with Golgar, which is good. That's actually pretty good, especially if you do it on your turn and your opponent has like all these resources, and you do all this shit and like hey, yes. So that's a decent effect, not a good effect, because most of the alien cards have like ridiculously easy ways to spread A counters. Like their whole gimmick is spreading A counters, and so there's so many numerous ways to get monsters with A counters that it's kind of a prerequisite. Like any card involving the alien card type has to have spread A, do X, get A counters on something. So I wasn't surprised with that one. The second effect, however, is something we're talking about. I may actually make a separate video just talking about this second effect. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, doesn't have to be your opponent's. And sent to the graveyard, you can special summon reptile monsters with different names from your graveyard, except linked monsters up to the number of monsters your opponent controls with A counters. You can only use each effect once per turn. That is actually pretty dang good. Why? One card and one card only. And that is Snake Rain. Now, what is Snake Rain? Snake Rain is a normal spell. It's basically with the following effect. You discard one card, then you take any four reptile monsters from your deck, put them in the graveyard. That is broken. Everyone knows that one of the most broken spell cards in the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is called Foolish Burial. Basically, that card's effect is send any one monster from your deck to the graveyard. Snake Rain is Foolish Burial on crack and exclusive for reptiles. There's a lot. You won't even want to know how many forums and how many YouTube threads talking about like reptile support end with someone shouting because Snake Rain is a thing. They can't make any good reptile support because then they'd be able to abuse this card. Mighty Slash Frame is probably the first reptile monster that can actually use Snake Rain in any capacity. Yeah, it won't be broken, but the fact that the aliens can now abuse this ever-loving shit out of Snake Rain. Your opponent has their field load up. You got this guy. You send like a very powerful monster to the graveyard. You give like one A counter to your opponent's side of the field, like 5 link, like 5 stuff. You know, you have Golgar on the field. You have all this stuff on the field. And then you activate like Wreck a Guy Break or any card to destroy your monster by card. Mighty Slash Frame by card effect. Its effect activates. You swarm the field with aliens. Their effects might go off, or you can use Snake Rain, get Mars and Hypno into the graveyard. Use this guy's effect, flood the opponent's field with A counter, then try and destroy him using your own card effect. You summon Hypno, you summon Mars. Their opponent can't do shit because they all have A counters. Hypno, using his Gemini summon, takes over all the monsters' effects, because that's another thing aliens do. They hypnotize monsters and brainwash them. And then you could actually use their monsters against your opponent. Granted, it takes a lot of setup and is very gimmicky, but the fact is we now have a way to use Snake Rain legitimately. Just makes it usable anyway. Not to mention, of course, you might have Golgard for like any problem monsters that you might, or problem spell or trap cards your opponent might have. It's good to use a Golgar like free Golgar, but come on, Golgar is probably one of the first, was probably the first very good synchro monster ever released in 5Ds. I mean, Golgar's is very good. Not gonna lie, it is good. So overall, I actually give Mighty Slash Frame an 8 out of 10, maybe an 8.5, but it's more used to the fact it's gimmicky. I want to give this a higher rank, but because of the fact it requires a lot of setup to kind of use this in a wombo combi way, it'll be hard to pull off. But if you can pull it off, you pull it off. So let's see. The next card is, let's see, the Alter guys. Did that. Blockluster Soldier, the Chaos Warrior. It's part of the BLS archetype. The BLS, the Blockluster Soldier, if I remember right, was the very first ritual monster released in the Yu-Gi-Oh! Anime. Everyone has a lot of nostalgias. And Blockluster Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning, was probably one of the first truly broken cards introduced in the TCG. But then again, Chaos Emperor Dragon was way more broken. Hey. So, it's a Earth Warrior, of course, just like all the BLSs. Link 3 monster with 3,000 attack, and its compass points are south, east, southwest, and north. And it requires 3 monsters with different names. In BLS, of course, you're going to be able to spam a lot of stuff to get the ritual cards, to summon the ritual monsters. So, getting 3 different names. 3 monsters with different names, not gonna be a hard thing. It's not gonna be an easy thing, but it's far from you're not gonna have a super hard time getting it. Your opponent that cannot target this card that was linked summoned using a level 7 or higher monster as material with card effects. Okay, so it can't. It's betting. So this card's betting on the fact you might actually link some of this with a BLS, because all the big BLSs, the ritual monsters, Envoy, and I think Dawn. There's like one other BLS. They're all like level 7, level 8. I can't remember the exact level. This card's kind of betting on the fact you used one of them as a material. Probably the original BLS. Maybe, I don't know. Envoy of the Beginning's better. I actually read this card effect, but yeah, it's probably better. Also, it cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. Okay, so you link summon this with a level 7 monster. You pretty much have a monster that can only be destroyed by battle or by kaiju. That's not bad. When this card destroys an opponent's monster by battle, you can activate one of these effects. This card gains 1500 attack. Okay, not bad. Not bad. Because, you know, it's a 4500 beater. This card can make a second attack during each battle phase of your next turn. Or banish one card to the field. This is basically, besides the attack boost, this is pretty much Envoy of the Beginning. Because Envoy of the Beginning, you know, when it destroys a monster by battle, it can attack again, or you can or if you can get not have an attack and banish one card of the field. This is actually not bad. I don't like the fact you have to go through a loop of using a level 7 or higher monster to get the benefit of protection. But it would work in a BLS deck. It would work. It would still be kind of annoying, but it would work. It would be easy to do that. I like the fact this card could possibly be exploited by constantly bumping up its attacks. Like, because it doesn't say, you know, the card and, you know, the card effect doesn't last until, like, the end of your opponent's turn or stuff like that. It just says, destroy opponent monster by battle, you gain an effect. That is actually not bad. So you can use this monster attack to run over something like a Dark Magician. Let's use the Dark Magician. 500 attack, 500 damage. Uses a first effect, gains 1500. It's stuck at 4500. Based on this one's just more based off the wording than anything else. For all I know, they probably going to errata this card because this card sounds broken. It can attack twice. If you manage to bump it up like 4500, having a 4500 beat stick with card effect protection, running over 2 monsters at a time. That actually sounds good. Plus the fact you can destroy a monster by battle, then banish something else. Banish something else. Say your opponent has a Fairy Tale Snow. Fairy Tale Snow is still a problem card. It was only kind of power creep because of Link monsters. They can't go into defense mode. You get this, you try to banish it. You attack something else, and you banish this Fairy Tale Snow. That's it. You're buried. Your snow is gone. It's actually a very good card. The only complaint I have is you have to use a level 7 monster. But overall, this is a very good card. I have to give this a 9.5 out of 10. Very, very close to a 10. If it wasn't for the fact that the only reason I didn't give it a 10 is because of the fact more than likely they're gonna errata this immediately. They're going to errata this thing. I bet you within about 2 months' time, this card's gonna get errated, saying that you can only use this effect until the end of your turn or something like that. Next one, Celestial Night Lord Parshat. This is part of the Parshat archetype, and by extension, the Counter Fairy. The Counter Fairy deck. Counter Fairies aren't really an archetype; they're more of a deck, but they are considered an archetype in a strange way. But so I'm counting Parshat. I'm counting him. He's a light fairy. I love me some fairies. Fairies are my favorite type in the entire game. 2400 link, 2400 attack, link 3. Its compass arrows are southwest, southeast, and south, and it requires 2 or more fairy monsters. Oh my god, are we gonna get a good fairy? I pray. Can we get a good fairy monster? A good generic fairy monster? Oh my god, I hope this thing is not completely restricted to counter fairies. You can discard 1 card, add 1 Sanctuary in the Sky, or 1 card that specifically lists the card Sanctuary in the Sky in its text from your deck to your hand. Sanctuary in the Sky is a field spell that, as long as it's on the field, you take no battle damage from attacks involving fairy monsters. So if you're running like something like Melodious, you have this thing on the field, you have the Aria Sonata combo up, then you can have them in attack mode. Your opponents, you're not gonna get any battle damage, and you can try and stall it at least until Sanctuary is gone. It's not bad. It's far from good because it's sounding like it really benefits counter fairies. If Sanctuary on the Sky is on the field, you can add one fairy monster instead. Thank God, that's actually pretty good. If a face-up fairy monster you control is sent to the grave, you can banish one fairy monster from your graveyard. Special summon one fairy monster with a higher level than the banished monster from your hand. That is a good effect. This actually reminds me of a Digio. What's the name? Who basically, if you sent to the grave, you roll a die, and based on what level, if you have a level of that monster from your graveyard, you can special summon it. He's actually not bad. He's actually not bad. He's not a bad effect, especially if you get a 6 and you can summon a level 6 or higher fairy monster. So he's kind of helpful in a pinch, depending on what you roll. You can ban it, but the problem is this card kind of requires graveyard setup. Not a bad card. I think this is the first good fairy link monster we have. All the other fairy monsters are either trick stars that nobody uses, or they're bad. Like bad. Like, do I have to get started on Linkbell? And there's Hip Hiddleshin, but that's more of it's more supporting for lights than, fairies in general. Because, there's dark fairies a thing. Dark lords are a thing. They're fairies. They're dark fairies. Overall, I have to give this 1 a 9. I think it does help fairies. Granted, you have to banish fairies, and fairies don't really benefit from being banished. The only type that kind of benefits from being banished are zombies. In fact, Shiranui's a thing, but I can't complain. If you find some way to get the fairies out of the banished pile and into the grave, you could probably, it's not bad. I'll drop it down to an 8. I'll drop it down to a solid 8. I think it's not bad. It could be better, but it's not bad. Okay, so I did that. Needle Fiber did that. Curious did that. Ziegler did that. DDD Abyss King Gilgamesh. Look at that art. Look at that. Look at that art. That's actually pretty dang good. Alright. It's part of the DD or /DDD archetype. I don't get why they decided to retread the different dimension archetype by calling, it's a different thing. But I'm not complaining. Okay. So it's a Dark Fiend, of course, linked to monster with 1800 attack, and its link points are southwest and southeast. And it requires 2 DD monsters. DDs have no problem getting spamming the ever-loving daylights out of DD monsters. So let's get started. If this card is special summoned, you cannot activate this effect. You cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except DD monsters. Consider the fact, I have a problem with that. I have a big problem with that. DDs and DDDs are 2 different archetypes. DDD is considered a sub-archetype of the DD archetype. So that is very counterproductive. There are a lot of good DD monsters, but consider the fact the very best DD monsters are part of the DDD. Consider the fact this does not specify DD or DDD. You're pretty much stuck with the regular monsters. And consider the fact DDs, they have a habit of spamming the field with like every single monster type except for ritual monsters, of course. They have fusion, they have synchros, they have XYZs, they have pendulums. So having a link monster that pretty much restricts you from summoning the fusion, XYZ and synchro monsters is kind of very counterproductive. Let's at least see what else it does. Also place 2 DD pendulum monsters with different names from your deck in your pendulum zone, and if you do, take 1000 damage. That's not bad. You can instantly pendulum summon with this thing, so it's not a bad thing. But most DD decks, you know, their entire extra deck is filled up with DDD monsters. Okay, if this Link summon card in its under control is destroyed by battle with an opponent's attacking monster or an opponent's card effect, you can special summon one DD monster from your extra deck or graveyard in defense mode. You can only use each effect once per turn. Oh my god. This close. This close. This card would have actually been useful. This card would have revived DDs. Except for one thing. It does not specify DDD. DDD is a completely separate thing from DD. If the card said DD or DDD, then this card would have been good. This card would have been amazing because you can instantly pendulum summon. You can easily spam. You can even more easily spam the board with DD monsters, get all their effects off, do all sorts of crazy shit. But in fact, you're stuck with DDs. Because in fact, none of the extra deck monsters are DDs, and some of the more powerful monsters in the main deck are DDDs. You're pretty much out of luck running like something that you could spam that's not a DDD. If I'll tell you the truth. If this had DD or DDD in both effects, this thing easy 10 out of 10. The amount of shit you would be able to do with this card in that deck is nothing short of astronomical. But because it doesn't specify DDDs, this is just a big middle finger to people who play that deck. I actually love the concept of DDs. I never played them because, you know, I don't have them in real life. But I love their comic. I love their art style. I love everything about them. They're evil. I consider them evil businessmen. But this is just this card is just a big middle finger to that deck. So, oh my god, that is a shame. That is a damn shame. 4 out of 10. That you could possibly do something, but consider the fact you by using this guy's effect, you pretty much lose access to your extra deck and anything that DDs do. Then you pretty much walk into a sitting duck. You have to wait another turn before you do anything. And it's not bad with that effect, but you have to stall. But you'll literally have to stall. But no, there's much better choices. Okay, let's see. Next card, Dragoonity Knight Romulus. Oh, it's part of the Dragoonity archetype. Okay. It's a Wind Dragon Link 2 monster, 1200 attack, link points, southwest, southeast, and it requires 2 Dragon Inner Wing Beast monsters. Okay, Dragoonities are a wind-based archetype. Usually when I consider them more, being more based off having different types with the same attribute, I'll call them, you know, insert attribute here, archetype. So, Dragoonities are both dragon and winged beast, but I consider them a wind archetype because, you know, they're all wind, but they're 2 different types. Monsters have tokens. Okay, you cannot use tokens on this. Okay. This card is Link Summon. You can add 1 Dragoonity spell or trap or Dragon Ravine from your deck in your hand. That's not a bad effect. Dragon Ravine is still a very good card. It's probably still one of the best field spells ever created because you can like splash it. You can actually splash this thing in any dragon deck. You just use this effect. You get a free Dragon Ravine that you can that you can actually bounce plays and make high level dragon plays out of it. Not bad. Dragoonity spell or trap. There's not a lot of. I believe there's actually not a lot of Dragoonity spells or traps. Okay. I want to find this out. Dragoonity. 1 Dragon Master. 2. 3. There's like 2 spells and a trap. I don't think unless there's gonna be more Dragoonity spells and traps, unless we're gonna get a whole ton of Dragoonity support, I don't see the first half of this effect being any good. Mainly because there's really not a lot of, there's like 2 spells and a trap, and so it's not really worth it. I mean, the equip spell was not bad, and Dragon Masters is not bad, but most people would just use this to get Dragon Ravine, because, you know, Dragon Ravine is still an amazing card, but it's not bad. It could be better. Or, you know, just make more Dragoonity spells and traps. Usually when there's a card effect that allows you to do this, there's probably like at least 5 spells / traps. So that way you have a robust number to use. I mean, they do the same thing with Abyss Actors, but they have like a ton of spells and traps. Let's continue. If this dragon is special summoned from the extra deck to a zone or zones this card points to, you can special summon 1 dragon or wind beast monster from your hand in defense position, but it's for the rest of its turn. Its effects are negated. Also, it cannot be used as link material. This, I know Dragoonities are more of a synchro-based archetype, and it's not bad, but this is another case of this card is so much better in other archetypes, namely Blue Eyes, because you can easily get Dragon Ravine. You know, spam the second effect of Dragon's Ravine, get Blue Eyes in the graveyard, summon this thing with little dragons, constantly spam the big dragons, constantly spam, and you know, kept going off that. This is probably more useful in Blue Eyes and other dragon decks than Dragoonity. Dragoonity can still use it relatively well. The first effect, again, is redundant because there's not enough spells and trap cards to really warn at. Maybe if it just said Dragon Ravine, I would kind of disqualify it because, you know, Dragon's Ravine is still a good card. Second effect is a decent card because it allows you to make plays and try and spam, Synchro Rush and Synchro Spam Dragoonity monsters, so it's not a bad effect. It could be better. Honestly, I think more of this card just needs more attack points because, you know, card effect with like this kind of needs more. Probably in a 600 attack point boost, 500 attack point boost, make it like higher, like 17, 18, 1900, maybe just a solid 2000. I think that would be better. Overall, I think this is not a bad card. But it's far from a good card. I'd have to give it a 7 out of 10. All right. Next card, FA Shining Star GT. It's part of the GT. It's for the FA archetype. I think this is probably going to be the best link monster of this set, depending on what the other ones are. So it's a light machine, link 2 monster, 0 attack points. What? I'll get to that. And its compass points, its link points are southwest and southeast. So it requires 2 machine monsters. The FA archetype is machine monsters that rely on low manipulation. It has 4 effects. First effect. Gauge attack equal to the total level of FA monster it points to times 300. Holy fucking shit. First off, you can get this thing to ridiculous attack. I actually looked this up. If you have 2 level 12 monsters, 12 being the highest level of monster you can use, you put 2 level 12 monsters on these things' link points, and then you times both by 300. You pretty much got a 7,200 attack beat stick. That's a lot. That's probably, in terms of raw attack points, this is probably the most powerful link monster. Just in terms of, not even in terms of effect, just in terms of raw attack points. Because you can get this thing to 7,200, you're pretty much running over anything. Anything short of like someone using an Honest. And usually the FAs, they have ways of protecting themselves. Depending on what monster, you can easily just get 2 monsters that can protect themselves. FAGT can't protect them. You're pretty much stuck. You're pretty much stuck. Plus, I think the motorhomes can actually go past 12, so this thing's attack points can go even higher. In fact, their motorhome secret monster actually has an effect to say if this card is past level 13, which is like It can go past 12. Sorry about that. Second effect, neither player takes battle damage from attacks involving this card. This needed to be on the card, because if you're having a ridiculously high attack point monster, you need some kind of caveat with it, because this thing can and will run anything and everything over with the greatest of ease. But you need some way to balance it. So I think that's a good way to balance it. So you can't attack directly with the thing. So yeah, but you can run over everything. You can just run over. Blue Eyes, I got this car. I got a great Egyptian god. I got this car. I am an army of magicians. I got this car. And it's a jag. Okay, next one. Third effect. Each time a FA spell or trap card or effect is activated, place one athlete counter on this card. When your opponent, and fourth effect, when your opponent activates a monster effect quick effect, you can remove one athlete counter from this card and negate the activation. And if you do destroy that card, you can only use this effect of Shining Star GT once per turn. They needed monster protection because two of their other monsters, they basically negate spells and traps, but they needed monster protection. This card, thank God, this card is freaking amazing. You can easily get this thing on the field. You can easily bump it up to a ridiculous attack board. You can run it over anything. It finally gives the deck protection against monster effects. You can easily, add a stall tactic or a negation effect. You can easily have someone, stop someone's combo with this card. There are so many things that this card does right and completely makes the archetype so badass. 10 out of 10. This thing it's just awesome. Freaking awesome. Any other? Let's see. Yeah, Saber did that. Yeah, I'm trying to find the right, because I think here it is. Here's another one. Gullveig of the Nordic Ascent. It's part of the Nordic archetype. It's a light fairy monster. Link 1, 800 attack. Its link arrow points to southwest. Southwest. 1 level 5 or lower Nordic monster. If this card is link summoned, you can banish up to 3 cards from your hand and or field, and if you do, special summon that many Nordic monsters from your deck in defense position. Also, for the rest of this turn, you cannot special summon monsters except a Azir monster or normal summon set any monster. You can only use the effect of Gullveig of the Nordic Sun once per turn. While this card points to an Azir monster, your opponent cannot target that monster with card effects. Also, monsters your opponent control cannot target this card for attacks. Decent effect. Problem is, Nordics are a piece of shit. I mean, in order to make this work, you need a bunch more support. New support for the Nordics is just this card and one monster. But neither of them really save the archetype. Decent card. Allows you a free Azir, but it's still a garbage archetype. This card helps it, but it doesn't. But it's far from ever saving it. I'm gonna give it, on the merits alone, I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10, mainly because of the simple fact the archetype is garbage, and this card at least makes it kind of useful because an Azir monster are really good. At least okay, maybe Thor and Odin are good, but no. Other than that, yeah, it does nothing else. Hita, the Blazing Fire Charmer. I'm actually going to be counting 4 monsters on this archetype, because more than likely, if there's Hita, we're going to get the other 4, or maybe 6, or maybe the other 5, depending on what, 3, 4, or 5, depending on if they're going to add Lyra and Yark. So it's a fire, and this is part of the Charmer archetype. And it's a fire spellcaster linked to monster 1850 attack, just like the original Hita. And it requires 2 monsters, including a fire monster. Makes sense. Because in fact, all of them revolve around the elements. This card is always treated as a familiar possessed card. Okay. You can target 1 fire monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to you there. Oh, and it's link arrows are southwest, southeast. You can target 1 fire monster in your opponent's graveyard, special summon it to your zone. This card points to if this link summon card is destroyed by your opponent's by battle or an opponent's card effect. You can add 1 fire monster with 1,500 or less defense from your deck added to your hand. This is a good card. The only problem is just like Isolde, this card is more screwed over by the rules because the Charmers, they don't really have a deck. They're more just a loose collection of like, you know, artwork and stuff like that. So it's like they're more or less screwed over by the rules I set in place than the card actually being bad. So I have to give this card, I'm going to explain myself why it's good. Just like Isolde, I'm going to have to give it a very low number. I have to give it a 2 with an asterisk. If you use this in any other deck, this can actually be a complete make or break in a mirror match. This is probably this and all the other Charmer Link monsters, because we only got the fire one so far. We're probably gonna get all of them. This could be amazing in a mirror match, or if you know your opponent, you know what they're playing, you can easily, you know, everyone. I have a feeling everyone is gonna have one of these at least 1 or 2 of these Charmers in their side deck at all times based on what the meta is. These things are too good not to really use in decks. It's just by the rules, it has to. I rank them based on how good they are in their own archetype, but the problem is Charmers cannot make a deck because they only have 1 trap and they have a bunch of monsters that don't work well together. You can't make a Charmer deck because they don't work together. I have to give. The only reason I gave it a 2 because it's the effect of the searching power. The second effect allows you to search any fire monster. Yeah, okay, you gotta search that way in case your opponent goes. If you're running a mirror match, okay, you destroyed it. You can't use your opponent's monster anymore, but you can get one of your own to make plays. It's that good. The problem is it got screwed over by the rules. Okay, I think we're almost done. They did that. Nightmares. Blah blah blah. Link blah. I think I'm almost done. Any more almost frames? Blah blah blah. No, did that. Not counting. Prankster. Not counting that. I think there's only. Oh wait. Shiranui Splendid Saga. It's part of the Shiranui archetype. It's a zombie deck. Thank God. It's a fire zombie, link 3 monster, 2300 attack. Its link points are actually south, west, and north. Oh, that's weird. It requires 2 zombie monsters, of course, because, you know, Shiranui is more seen as more an engine, so of course you're going to need the engine. Most people are just going to use it as an engine rather than, you know, stuff like that. Synchro monsters you control cannot be destroyed by card effects. Also, fire monsters you control cannot be destroyed by battle. That's actually pretty damn good. Especially since, you know, Shiranui is a synchro-based archetype. And, you know, all that nonsense and stuff like that. But if you get a Shiranui monster, it cannot be destroyed by battle. It cannot be destroyed by card effects. You pretty much got a lot of protection for a Shiranui Synchro. This is like a Link monster version of the Aquarium cards of the Aqua Actress archetype. During your opponent's turn, quick effect, you can banish one of your banished zombie synchro monsters. Special summon it to your zone this card point, so you can only use the effect of Shiranui Splendid Saga once per turn. So, consider the fact Shiranui, they kind of benefit from being banished. So I can kind of see, you know, constantly having to banish Shiranui and then constantly recovering, stuff like that. So I can easily see, you know, and in case of a certain situation, you have a Shiranui Synchro monster, whether it be like Shogun Saga or Sunshot Saga, you can easily get it back. That's actually really good. I actually love this deck because it forces your opponent, instead of dealing with a bigger problem, you have to get rid of the shield before you take out the boss. That actually helps a lot because, you know, your opponent, you have this on the field, you have like Sun Saga. Sun Saga is actually a pretty good card. You know, it forces your opponent to have to deal with Splendid Saga before dealing with Shogun Saga. So, of course, that's wasting up resources. And, you know, maybe you might not, and maybe the opponent might not be able to use resources to take out Sun Saga. So, this is a very high risk, high reward card. You can use it defensively, you can use it offensively. It's very good. I have to give it an 9 out of 10. I just wish it protected Shiranui's from targeting as well. I think that would have actually pushed it. Granted, it probably would have pushed it kind of broken, but that would have made it. But I think it would have benefited if it added cannot be targeted by card effects either. I think that would have actually made it much, much better. Okay, so we got the Static Striker, Summon Summoner, Space and Light, blah, 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 blah. Next one, TG Trident Launcher. It's part of the TG Archetype Tech genus. It's a Earth Machine, Link 3 monster, 2200. Its Link points are North, South, Southwest, Southeast, and South. It requires 2 effect monsters, including a TG Tuner. If this card is Link summoned, you can special summon 1 TG monster each from your hand, deck, and graveyard to your zones this card points to in defense position. Also, you cannot special summon monsters for the rest of this turn except TG monsters. You can only use the effect of TG Trident Launcher once per turn. Your opponent cannot target TG Synchro monsters this card points to with card effects. This is actually a pretty dang good card. You can sure, it's simple on paper, but once you actually see it in action, you'll actually be able to blow up, because you have to summon Wonder Magician and consider the fact TGs now have a couple new cards for support to help with this. This actually makes Tech Genus really, really good. You have to summon like Halberd or Blade Rhino. And of course, that will require summoning Wonder Magician. Wonder Magician is still a good card. And of course, there's always Hyper Librarian. That card was banned. That card is really, really good. I give it 9 out of 10. I think TG Synchro Monsters point to a card effect. I think I would have given it a 10 if it just said TG Synchro Monsters cannot be destroyed by card effects. Cannot target TG Synchro Monsters with card effects in general, because I think that would have been better. Or at least, had them protected but can't be destroyed by card effects. I think that would have been better. I think that would have been just as good. I think the targeting is fine. It just it's good, but not amazing. Phantom Knights of the Rusty. Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche. It is part of the Phantom Knights. Phantom Knights are a sort of trap monster / monster. Phantom Knights are weird. It's a Dark Warrior Link monster, Link 3. 2100 attack, and its Link points are Southwest, Southeast, and East. That's weird. Alright, and it requires 2 dark monsters. All the Phantom Knight monsters are dark. During your main phase, you can send 1 Phantom Knights monster from your deck to your graveyard. Then set 1 Phantom Knight spell / trap directly from your deck to your spell and trap card. That is actually a pretty dang good effect. If a Dark XYZ monster is special summoned to a zone, this card points to while this monster is on the field. You can target 1 card on the field, destroy it. You will only use each effect of the Phantom Knights once per turn, and this card cannot be used as a link. This is actually a pretty good card. I wouldn't call it a great card, but it's a good enough card. First off, you could set up your field and your graveyard, because a lot of the trap cards, trap and spells, I think they're pretty much just traps. Really benefit from being in the graveyard. You can banish and stuff like that. And you get the traps. This deck's all about getting the trap cards on the field so you can make your plays. Without the trap cards, you're kind of stuck with just really weak ass monsters. So this deck kind of really benefits from having the power of just getting just a quick trap card from any trap card, especially something like Fog Blade and stuff like that, onto your field, so you can actually do something with it, or use it as a just in case. Non-targeting destruction, that's actually really good. Granted, there are monsters that cannot be targeted or destroyed, but I think overall this is a good card. If it's just protection from destruction effects, and doesn't target, this card's good. Oh, you can target 1 card on the field. Never mind. The second effect, I just reread the card and said target 1 card. My bad. The second effect, it's standard. Granted, you have to use the XYZ monsters, I believe, and it has to be specifically a Dark XYZ. All the Phantom Knight monsters are XYZ, so that's no problem. But outside of that, Phantom Knights, they usually spam Link 3 monsters. Not every single Link 3 is a dark. I think there's outside of the Phantom Knight links, there's not really a lot of dark rank 3 links. Huh. Okay. Next one. Thunder Dragon Goliath. First off, I like to comment on the artwork. That looks like someone from Toho decided, what should we do with Link Monsters? Let's make it look like King Ghidorah. that card art reminds me so much of King Ghidorah. It's not even funny. This was kind of a caveat because Thunder Dragons existed for years, but it's only now become an archetype. So this one kind of cheats itself in because it's still technically a new card, and you know the Thunder Dragons are just introduced and stuff like that. So, however, Thunder Dragon had kind of existed for years, so I'm cheating with this one. It's a Thunder Light monster. Link 4, 2800 attack. Its link points are actually south, east, west, south, and southeast. Okay, and it requires 2 Thunder monsters. All the Thunder Dragons are Thunder monsters. If this card is Link 7, you can target one of your Thunder Dragon monsters that is banished or in the graveyard. Apply the effect listed on it that activates by itself. Then place on either the top or bottom of your deck. You can only use this effect of Thunder Dragon Goliath once per turn. If a Thunder monster or monsters you control will be destroyed by battle or card effects, you can banish 3 cards from your graveyard instead. That's actually amazing. First off, recovering from your banish pile, because Thunder Dragons kind of benefit from getting into the banish, and they can also kind of recycle themselves back from the banish with using, I believe, Thunder Dragon Fusion. But outside of their fusion card, there's not really a lot of ways to get it. So it's like you can easily spam. You can get this guy in the field, bring back something like get something unbanished like Thunder Dragon Origin, use the discard effect, you know, you can easily plus off that. Its second effect, send 3 cards from your deck from your graveyard and banish them. Thunder Dragons need to be banished. Using this effect, not only protecting your monsters, but also plussing using Thunder Dragon effects. That's amazing. 10 out of 10. This thing is just amazing. You have the fusion monsters have the protection, but this thing just completely blows out of the water. Alright, so is there any? Okay, so there's extra hero Dread Decimator. It's part of the hero archetype again. It's a Dark Warrior Link 3 monster, 2500 attack, and its link points are southwest, southwest, east, and south. And this requires 2 hero monsters. This card, also any heroes monster it points to gains $100 attack for each hero monster with different names in your graveyard. If this card attacks a defense position monster, inflict piercing damage. So this thing just makes beat 6. Not bad because you can easily get like a weak monster to like a high enough attack point to run stuff over. Not 4 out of 10. I mean, if it gave all hero monsters a points to piercing damage, I would probably rank it higher, or just any hero monster on the field gets piercing damage. That actually would have been good. Overall, it's not bad. It's just lackluster. Let's see. More Trick Stars, and we got Trick Stars, and that's it. So that is all the new Link monsters. I should have split this in 2 videos. I didn't realize how many new Link monsters I'd have to talk about. Overall, out of all the cards in this video, which one do I think the best? Thunder Dragon Goliath. This thing just is so good. If not for that stupid caveat for the DD Link monster, I would have easily put that there. But Thunder Dragon Goliath is just far and away the best Link monster in this video. So that's it with this video. This has been Dark 777, and